Well, we are joined by our guest, Dr. Rajan Kumar, professor from the School of International Studies in JNU, and Preeti Uppala, geopolitical analyst from Las Vegas. Thank you, both of you, for being with us. Ms. Uppala, let me start with you. What are your expectations from this election? I mean, who do you expect to win, first of all?
Namaste, and thank you so much for having me. This is truly such a consequential election, I think, of our times for all of us, with the great geopolitical ramifications. It's a very divisive, quite a hateful, polarized election so far, and it's just warming up. I think hopefully in a few hours we'll start to see which way the political winds take us. Usually elections are divided on left, on right, but I think this is the first time where we are seeing really the main divide here is a gender divide. Whereas you find a lot of young liberal women, just women in general, coming out to vote in droves for the Democratic Party, and then you see a lot of men who have been perhaps they feel disenfranchised today in many ways. They're coming out like never before to vote for the Republicans, for President Trump. So it's going to be a very interesting election. I think this is the one election where both political experts, pollsters, even astrologers are finding it difficult to agree on a winner. So even they are divided. One of two things is going to happen. Either the polls were spot on and it's going to be a very, very tight election, which means that we'll not know who the winner is for probably several weeks to come, because it's going to be highly contested. The other option is that actually the polls had it completely wrong, and it's a landslide victory. I think right now at this moment, nobody knows which of those two options are going to manifest. I think the whole world really watches to see how America chooses to vote, and I think a lot of people are voting. There's a lot of first-time voters. People are voting for, whether it's immigration, the economy, border security, national security. And then on the other hand, I think women's rights, specifically abortion, has somehow really made it to the ballot. And I think it's really the dichotomy of these two kinds of rights and values that America seems to be divided on. It's funny, it's an election where almost $2 billion has been spent, and just a few tens of thousands of voters in 7 swing states are going to ultimately decide the result. Right. That affects all. It's very, very interesting. I'm sure there's a lot of Indian Americans who traditionally used to vote Democrat. I think there has been a slight change of heart for various reasons. So we're even seeing the Indian American community shift, I think. There's far more people coming out openly and voting for Trump this time. So it'll be very interesting to see which way the polls swing and which way the result goes.
Dr. Rajan Kumar, how would you look at it? Some analysts look at it as say that the Democrats may have underestimated the popularity of Trump, because it's in any case, I mean, he's the central figure of the election. It's either you love him or you hate him, and the other issues are probably not as important at the end of the day, because I mean, though they do matter, people are just voting whether they like this man or dislike this man.
Absolutely, Mark. First, thank you for having me here. And let me tell you that this is very tight election and very keenly contested. And America at this moment looks completely divided. Divided in terms of ideology, divided in terms of gender, divided in terms of race, and also to some extent geographical division. So what I see is that there is a very polarized kind of America which we are seeing in this election, and Trump being the most polarizing figure today. And he's popular. He has been the president of America, so he's very well known to the entire American citizen. But there are a number of issues which have divided the people on these lines. What I mentioned just now, I think some of the people think that that Trump does not believe in democracy, so that has become an issue there, and people are saying that this is an election where it's a democracy versus fascism or democracy versus some kind of authoritarianism. So that is one issue. As Ms. Pala pointed out earlier, that gender has become a very important issue because the debate is about how do you consider the gender, how do you define gender, and then women versus men. That issue is there. Kamala Harris has massive support among women, but equally the white men they support Trump. So that gender has become a real issue there. Then you have economy. Trump is on the economic issue. Trump has better support compared to Kamala Harris because many of the white people and also the other people, they think that the economy is not doing that well and that need for reform, etc.
Right, Professor Rajan Kumar. But at the end of the day, there's only one vote, and you're voting on one of these issues. So I suppose the economy, Trump is always scoring more. But then if you look at abortion, obviously, Kamala Harris is scoring more. So at the end of the day, if a person has to decide between these two issues, how do they decide which person to go with?
I think abortion is very important, gender is very important, and on the issue of gender, if you're a woman, you are likely to vote for Kamala Harris. And but there are also other issues where people vote across that the traditional stereotypes. For instance, on the issue of economy, some of the black people also support Trump. But there are also, for instance, immigration. On the issue of immigration, people are divided there, and also divided in the geographical region. So where you are located, that also matters, because what has happened in the last few years, if I tell you, the American population has grown primarily because of the immigration and mostly Hispanic population. If you see the growth of America, so Hispanic people from earlier it was 12%, now it has gone up to 19% approximately, and the other population remains static in comparison to that. So immigration has become a very, very important issue, and on the issue of immigration, Trump is the favorite. Trump is favored by a lot of people. So my abortion, immigration, gender, economy. So these are the issues, and if I tell you the stereotypes. So white male population, in conservative, non-educated. Also, let me tell you that roughly 65% of the people in US are and have not seen the college. So that population, white population, that is likely to vote for Trump. But
right.
Educated and immigrant and women, they are likely to support Kamala Harris. So that's how you kind of locate yourself, in this voting.
Mr. Pala, so would you say that, amongst all these issues, perhaps the Republicans have underestimated the importance of the Roe v. Wade being overturned? And as a result of that, they probably are looking at all these other issues where Trump is likely to score more and thinking that perhaps the electorate is going to go over that. But then you're seeing huge queues of women and they're probably getting worried as to whether that's going to change the fate of this election.
I actually think that both parties underestimated each other. I would say even the left underestimated how important the economy has, how hit the American population has been in the past 4 years. Also, the immigration, border security, national security. These issues are not just affecting, traditionally conservatives. It's affecting everybody, even in very blue states. I'm from California, so there's a lot of people from California because it happens to be a border state. Illegal migration affects Californians greatly. So for the first time, we're seeing them be, very critical, I think, of the administration's lack of efforts in the last 4 years. I think you have to vote though, and there's a plethora of events. I think you have to issues. The voter needs to ask himself or herself, right. What really has been the most pivotal issue, and sometimes it's split between gender and other times it's location and also just your social economic strata. But I think across the board, Americans don't feel like they are seeing their best days at the moment. I travel a lot around the world, and I
Right.
have to say, America has become a bit of a laughing stock, and you see the rest of the world and who don't look up to America. They don't see the U.S. as a police or a leader, a global leader,
Sure.
or anything like that. So in that respect, both voters, both kind of voters, want to see a better tomorrow, and which leader they think is going to get them there is who they're going to vote for. I think it's very exciting because of the time differences. We're going to start seeing the results very quickly. I think Georgia is first to go. It's going to start trickling in, and we'll know very quickly which way the winds are taking us this time. So it's just very exciting.
Ms. Upala, given what you're saying, and you're from California, and it's been blue for the longest time, and we've seen that Elon Musk has talked a lot about the state and how he feels that it's not really fair in many respects. He talked about how people can vote without any what is that called? Proof, ID proof, yeah, voter ID proofs and things like that. And the question is whether that is a free and fair election that's taking place there. And the fact that, given what you're saying, is there a possibility that, it can stop being blue, or it's going to remain blue forever? How does it remain blue? How do these states remain blue and red when there's so much disappointment in an incumbent government? Oh, I can't hear you, ma'am.
This is why the
Okay.
electoral
Yeah,
college
go
becomes
ahead.
the electoral college becomes very, very important, because that gives, I think, equal opportunity to all the states, whether you happen to be California with 50 odd states, or Nebraska or someone like that, and they have a handful of states, because I think every voice counts, every vote matters. California is blue. Usually they swing that way, so of course you're going to get a bunch of seats that way. But that it doesn't mean California doesn't represent the United States of America. You have 350 million people, and it's pretty split across the border. Across the board right now. So I don't see California turning red anytime soon. However, I think the number of smaller races within California, we're going to see a lot more conservatives win these races. We had a conservative governor for a while, and of course Ronald Reagan is from the Republican Party, and he's from California too. So we have so I think sometimes you do see a big wave. I will say this though: there's a lot of closet conservatives out there in California who, depending on whether or not Trump wins this election, I think they're going to feel a little emboldened to come out and perhaps be more open about their political leanings. And I hope that people are able to share their views without feeling like they're going to be canceled. We pride ourselves on being this great country that has freedom of expression and freedom of speech.